Hi everyone, it's me Arden Lee. I am back with another video. Today's video topic comes from one of the members of the Repatterning Parlor who asks, what do you do if you're on your personal growth path and you're outgrowing your friends? Now, I've made some videos before about what to do if your friends are villainizing you, if they're trying to pull you back down, if they're making you feel ashamed about the work that you're doing on yourself, because oftentimes what we can experience is that when we do our own personal growth work, it can sometimes feel like an attack or a betrayal to someone that we were previously trauma bonded with, right? So once we start saying, hey, for example, hey, I'm not going to stay out drinking late every night and, it's affecting my health. I'm going to start, going to bed at a reasonable hour, getting up in the morning and meditating and having, not having so much alcohol in my system because it brings me down, right? And other people might be like, oh, look at you. Like, you think you're too cool for, to hang out with us anymore? Like, oh, who do you think you are? Who you're even becoming, right? So I've addressed that in the past, but it seems like this person was asking a question which is more like when there's just a rift happening in your alignment, right? When you're doing your own personal growth work, and this is very common, and the things that you're healing in yourself, the things that you're deciding to cultivate new beliefs about and new relationships to and new understandings of, are some of the things that are exactly what kept your friend group together before, right? Oftentimes the things that trigger us the most are the things that we are just growing out of, right? So this is why, for example, again, I'll use sobriety as an example just because it's a simple one that most people understand. When someone is newly sober, it can be very difficult or even triggering for them to be around people who are getting drunk, right? Because they see their former self and if they haven't yet anchored into a comfortability in the new habits that they're creating for themselves, if they don't yet feel secure in that step that they're taking, it can feel very triggering to be around that kind of behavior because we can worry that we're going to get pulled back into it, right? That's why for so many people who do get sober, their sponsors or their programs will often say, yeah, don't go out to bars, don't be in environments where you're going to be tempted, right? And it's like we're tempted, but sometimes we're not only tempted, but we're triggered by that behavior too, right? I notice in myself that the things that I tend to get mad about are the things that maybe I was previously doing but I'm not doing anymore. Right? And there's like a part of me that'll be like, stop doing that. Didn't we all learn this lesson, right? Well, no, maybe they didn't, right? So that's a call for me to have more compassion. But essentially that can happen. And what it seems like this person is asking in their question is, I'm trying to cultivate these new habits and I love my friends, but they're still doing the same things. They're still making the same complaints. They're not taking their power back. They're complaining about how they're treated while they're not actually doing anything to raise their standards. They're complaining that they're not being paid enough, but they're not, insisting that they be paid enough for their work. They're not actually doing anything about the things that they're complaining about. They're just kind of talking in circles. So, first of all, I want to say that it is normal to feel especially triggered or upset by the things that you've just overcome yourself. Because it does feel like, it's a slippery slope. I don't want to be around that. And that's okay. And I think you guys know I'm a big fan of saying like, hey, I choose who I want to be around. I'm going to become the average of the 5 people I spend the most time with, so let me choose those 5 people very carefully. I'm a big believer in not feeling obligated to maintain a connection if it's not having a positive impact in your life. I think it's interesting there's been a lot A lot of memes going around lately, and they have a really good point where there's been so much in the collective of like, oh, I cut out this toxic person, I cut out that toxic person, and blah blah. Well, until you learn conflict resolution, says this newer set of memes that is coming as sort of a response to the overuse perhaps of the word toxic throughout like 2018, 2019. And this sort of new wave of memes is like, until you learn conflict resolution, you might just be alone, right? Until you own your part in things, right? So it's a fine balance. And in this particular situation, it doesn't seem like it's necessarily about conflict resolution. But what it is it's an invitation to, can you remain in unconditional love? Can you love the people you care about without needing to change them? And can you love yourself enough to say, yes, and I also deserve to be a part of circles that inspire me, and to draw the energy into my life of what I want to create more of, and to seek out and cultivate friendships that are going to nurture me at the level of growth that I'm currently at. You don't owe it to anyone to stay behind in a pond that's getting too small for you. And at the same time, I also want to say, can you love those people for exactly who they are? That's the hard part. It's easy to judge. It's easy to shame. It's easy to become so passionate in our discernment that we end up, consciously or not, placing a judgment on others. It's really easy to do that, especially when you see that what they're doing is perpetuating harm, whether that's harm to other people or, more likely, just harm to themselves, or at the very least that even if more harm is not being created, steps are not being taken to address the discomfort or the pain that is already there. There's a lack of self-responsibility being taken. And what do you do? What do you do indeed? That's an opportunity for you to love them and to love yourself at the same time. Love them for exactly where they are. Respect that everyone's path is their own free will decision. Understand that you can try to inspire them, right? Be the lighthouse, not the life raft. You can try and lead by example. But ultimately, they're going to do with their lives as they see fit. And unless someone comes and asks you for help, or is open to your making an offer of support, there's nothing you can really do to change another person. And at the same time, you deserve to surround yourself with people who inspire you, who are doing the same work as you, who are being accountable in the same ways that you are being accountable. And you deserve to not rob yourself of that experience that's going to help in your personal growth just because you love and care about some other people who are friends of yours who are not making the same choices that you're making. It's okay to grow. The question is, can we grow? And can we still practice unconditional love for those who are in the vibrations that we're growing out of? And sometimes unconditional love does mean that there's going to be some distance. And that's really up to your individual discernment. Where is space necessary? Where is something affecting you or pulling your energy in ways that aren't necessary and that are detrimental to you? That's discernment. But what I really want to invite into this conversation is an understanding that just because you're growing out of a vibration, you know, that new wave of memes has a point. We don't have to go around calling everyone toxic, right? We don't have to go around, because actually, like, the more we judge those people, the more we're actually staying in that vibration, right? And I understand, and I do think it's natural for our bodies to have those visceral reactions and say, not that. That's not what I want to do. And therefore, I need to draw a hard line in some way. I almost need to condemn this because I don't want to fall back into it. It's an understandable part of that process. But the greater invitation is, can you do your work? Can you go along your path? And can you just remain in unconditional love? And hold space for those people to maybe one day be inspired by you and take their own growth steps themselves. Or if not, to just love and accept them as they are and honor their free will. But honoring their free will, of course, doesn't mean that you hold yourself back. So it's a fine line. And hopefully that was helpful. I'll see you guys next time.